You want to change your life? Then let's start with the most powerful thing you've got, your focus. That's right. Your focus is everything. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. And if you're constantly looking around at what everybody else is doing, if you're scrolling, comparing, obsessing over whether you're good enough, far enough, smart enough, then guess what? You're handing your power away piece by piece to people who aren't even thinking about you. It's time to take it back. When you focus on yourself, you stop living in reaction mode. You stop being tossed around by other people's opinions, expectations, and timelines. You stop needing validation from the outside because you finally start building it on the inside. The real truth? You don't need a louder voice. You need a quieter mind. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You need to prove something to yourself. Most people waste years chasing applause, likes, and approval. They spread their energy so thin trying to keep up with everyone else's life that they forget to build their own. It's like planting someone else's garden while your own is overgrown with weeds. Focusing on yourself means you stop watering other people's opinions and you start growing your own roots. It's not selfish, it's necessary because no one's coming to do it for you. No one's handing you peace, growth, confidence, or success on a silver platter. You have to build that. And the only way to build it is by showing up for yourself every damn day. Let me say this clearly. Distraction is the enemy of greatness. And we live in a world built on distraction. Social media, news, opinions. Everyone's voice is louder than ever, but yours is buried under the noise. You want to shock people? Don't tell them what you're doing. Don't explain your goals. Don't justify your dreams. Just shut the noise out. Put your head down. This isn't about perfection. It's not about pretending you've got it all figured out. It's about doing the work. When you focus on yourself, you stop living on autopilot. You start making decisions based on who you want to become, not who people expect you to be. That's how you grow. That's how you evolve. And the wild part? The moment you shift your focus inward, everything changes. You walk different. You speak different. You carry yourself different, and people notice. They won't be able to explain it, but they'll feel it. That's the power of focus. It changes you from the inside out. You want peace? Focus on yourself. You want clarity? Focus on yourself. You want to level up? Focus on yourself. Nobody gets to the top by being distracted. Nobody builds something extraordinary by watching what everyone else is doing. You don't rise by reacting. You rise by deciding this is who I am and this is what I'm building, and I don't need to broadcast it to the world to make it real. So let them wonder, let them talk, let them doubt you. That's not your business. Your only job is to wake up and ask, how can I be 1% better than yesterday? That's it. That's the game. It's not glamorous. It's not flashy. It's reps. It's discipline. It's showing up for yourself when no one's clapping. And that's what separates the talkers from the doers. Because anyone can post about change. Anyone can talk about leveling up. But the ones who actually do it, they're the ones who focus so hard the world couldn't help but notice. Not because they shouted louder, but because their results became undeniable. So you want to shock everyone? Good. Good. Then start by shutting out the noise and turning inward. Get so focused on becoming your best self that they have no choice but to pay attention. Focus isn't just a tool, it's your secret weapon. Use it. Silence isn't weakness. It's not passive. It's not giving up. Silence is a strategy, and it's one of the most powerful tools you'll ever use when you're focused on growth. We live in a world where everyone's talking, online, offline, shouting their goals, showing off their progress, broadcasting every little move they make. But here's the truth. Real power doesn't need to be loud. Real progress doesn't need an announcement. And when you get serious about yourself, about your goals, about your future, you'll realize that the most effective move you can make is to keep your mouth shut and just do the work. There's something magnetic about someone who moves in silence, someone who isn't looking for validation, who isn't fishing for compliments, who doesn't need to convince you of who they are or where they're going. That kind of confidence, it doesn't need to speak. It doesn't need approval. It just shows up. You want to shock people? Stop telling them what you're about to do. Just do it. Stop explaining why you're changing. Just change. Stop trying to prove that you're growing. Let your life speak for itself. Silence gives you control. When you're not broadcasting your every move, you're protecting your energy. You're keeping your momentum safe from the distractions, the opinions, and the noise that comes with putting your plans out into the world too early. Not everyone needs to understand your vision. Not everyone is supposed to. When you talk too much about your goals, you invite too many voices into your process. Voices that don't belong there. And sometimes, those voices come from people who don't want to see you win, people who feel uncomfortable with your growth, people who can't imagine a version of you that outgrows the one they've always known. That's why silence is strength. Because while everyone else is talking, you're building. While they're debating, you're deciding. While they're trying to be seen, you're focused on becoming. And there's something undeniable about that kind of quiet focus. It's not about hiding. It's about protecting what matters. Your goals are sacred. Your healing is sacred. Your transformation is sacred. And not everyone deserves access to it while it's still in process. Let's be real. Most people are addicted to attention. They want credit before they've earned it. They want applause before they've even started. But if you really want to make an impact, if you really want to elevate your life, you've got to detach from that. You've got to learn to thrive in silence. You've got to be okay not being noticed while you grind. You've got to be okay being misunderstood while you grow. Because that's how lasting change is built. Quietly, privately, consistently. When you move in silence, you eliminate pressure. You stop performing and start transforming. There's no one to impress, no one to convince, no audience to play to. It's just you and the work, you and the mirror, you and the goal. And when it's just you, that's where the real breakthrough happens. Because it's not about how loud you are, it's about how real you are, how committed you are, how much you're willing to keep showing up even when no one sees it. That's the kind of grit that shocks people. Not because you told them what was coming, but because you became someone they didn't see coming. And when the results hit, when the transformation shows, when you walk into a room and people feel the shift in your energy, your discipline, your peace, that's when silence becomes your biggest statement. You don't need to say a word. Your actions already spoke. Your consistency already testified. Your peace already shouted what words never could. I've been doing the work. I've been becoming someone you never even imagined. So stop feeling the need to explain yourself. You don't owe anybody a status update on your growth. You don't need to prove your worth to people who can't see it. Focus on the mission. Protect the vision. Let the results reveal what your words never needed to. Because the most powerful moves you'll ever make won't be announced. They'll be witnessed. Everyone waits to feel motivated before they act. But here's the truth that most people don't want to hear. Motivation is a liar. It shows up when it wants to. It disappears when things get hard. It's fleeting, it's emotional, and it's unreliable. If you build your life around waiting for motivation, you'll never get anywhere. The real secret? Discipline. Discipline is what keeps you moving when motivation is nowhere to be found. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers. It's the daily decision to show up, whether you feel like it or not. Discipline is the muscle you build when you push through the resistance. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's not a highlight reel. It's waking up early when you're tired. It's saying no when temptation is loud. It's choosing your future over your feelings again and again. And that's not easy, but that's what makes it powerful. Anyone can act when they're motivated, but the people who get results, they're the ones who act when they're tired, frustrated, discouraged, or bored. They don't wait for a mood. They build a mindset. When you focus on yourself, discipline becomes your foundation. You realize that no one's coming to rescue you. No one's handing you the dream life. You've got to build it brick by brick. And guess what? Most of those bricks are laid on the days you don't feel like doing it. That's what makes the difference. That's what builds character. Because discipline doesn't just create results. It creates confidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build trust in your own word. You stop needing external validation because you know, deep down, that you're doing the work. And that kind of self-respect, that changes how you show up for everything. We've been conditioned to think that success is supposed to feel good all the time. It's not. Growth is uncomfortable, it's boring, it's repetitive, it's lonely, but it's necessary. And when you accept that discomfort is part of the process, you stop resisting it. You stop quitting every time it gets hard. You start realizing that discipline is freedom. It frees you from the chaos of inconsistency. It frees you from the mental weight of unfinished goals. It frees you from the trap of relying on motivation to do what you already know you need to do. Look around. Everyone wants results, but few people are willing to be consistent. That's your advantage. That's your edge. If you can become the person who follows through, especially when it's inconvenient, you become unstoppable. You rise above the noise. You shock people not with your words, but with your follow-through. They see you changing. They see you leveling up. And they don't even know how to respond because you're not talking about it. You're doing it. And here's the beautiful part. Once discipline becomes a habit, it starts to feel like momentum. You stop having to think about whether or not you'll show up. You just do. It becomes part of who you are. And that identity shift, that's when the magic happens. You're no longer someone who wants to change. You're someone who does. You're not trying to convince yourself to take action. You're the person who takes action no matter what. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build one decision at a time. One morning alarm, one workout, one hard conversation, one focused hour. And over time, those little decisions compound into something unshakable, something powerful, something that doesn't rely on motivation or mood swings or perfect circumstances. So if you're serious about focusing on yourself, start by throwing motivation out the window. Stop waiting to feel ready. You won't. Start moving. Start building. Start keeping your promises. And when the motivation fades, as it always does, let your discipline carry you. Let your habits take over. Let your standards pull you forward. That's how you grow. That's how you win. And that's how you shock everyone. Without ever saying a word, comparison is one of the biggest traps you can fall into, and it's everywhere. You open your phone and immediately you're hit with someone else's highlight reel, their progress, their success, their lifestyle. And without even realizing it, you start shrinking your own worth. You start questioning your own path. You think you're behind. You think you're not good enough. You think you should be somewhere else by now. But the truth is, comparison is a thief. It steals your joy. It steals your focus. And most importantly, it steals your progress. When you're focused on what everyone else is doing, you stop paying attention to your own life. You can't grow if your eyes are always looking sideways. You can't evolve if you're constantly measuring your journey against someone else's. Every second you spend comparing is a second you're not building, a second you're not creating, a second you're not investing in you. And that adds up. It drains your energy. It kills your momentum. And it distracts you from the only thing that actually matters: your own path. Here's the truth that nobody tells you. People are supposed to be different. Your timeline is supposed to look different. Your pace, your struggles, your wins, your path, it's unique to you. That's not something to fix. That's something to own. You are not supposed to be like them. You are supposed to be like you. And when you start embracing that, everything shifts. You stop feeling like you're behind. You stop needing to compete. You stop needing to prove anything. You start building your life your way with confidence and clarity. And let's be real, most of what you're comparing yourself to isn't even real. It's curated, edited, filtered. People show you what they want you to see. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's finished product. And that's never a fair fight. You don't see the struggles. You don't see the late nights. You don't see the fear and doubt and failure behind the scenes. You just see the end result, and you judge yourself for not being there yet. But what you forget is that you're in the middle of your story. And that's where the work happens. That's where the magic is. That's where you grow. If you really want to change your life, you have to tune out the noise. You have to stop measuring your worth by someone else's journey. Focus on your lane. Focus on your goals. Focus on becoming the best version of you. Because when you're locked in on your own mission, comparison doesn't stand a chance. You're not looking around, you're looking forward. And that kind of focus, that kind of intention, it changes everything. Growth isn't a race. It's not about who gets there first. It's about who stays consistent, who keeps showing up, who keeps doing the work when no one's watching. And the people who win, they're not the loudest, they're not the flashiest. They're the ones who got serious about themselves and stayed in their lane. The ones who stopped comparing and started building. The ones who learned that their real power comes from within, not from the applause or the recognition, but from the quiet confidence that says, I'm doing this for me. So the next time you catch yourself comparing, pause, breathe. Remind yourself of who you are and where you're going. You're not behind, you're not failing, you're growing, you're learning, you're evolving. And that's not supposed to look like anyone else's process. It's supposed to look like yours. Use comparison as information, not judgment. Let it show you what's possible, but don't let it make you feel less. Let it inspire you, but don't let it define you. You are not their chapter. You are not their timeline. You are writing your own story, and it deserves your full attention. So lock in. Focus on your next step. Start with your mindset. Start with your habits. Start with the hard questions. Who am I when no one's watching? What am I still carrying that needs to be let go? What story am I telling myself that's keeping me stuck? These are the questions that lead to breakthroughs. These are the questions that unlock your next level. Because the truth is, your external life will always reflect your internal world. You want better? Do better within. You want to level up? Clean house inside? Get honest? Get focused. Get serious. That's how you build a life that's not just successful on the outside, but solid at the core. That's how you truly change. That's how you shock everyone. Without ever having to say a word, people talk a lot about success like it's some big one-time event. A breakthrough moment, a lucky break, a massive win. But that's not how success really works. Success is built in the shadows, in the small things, in the daily habits no one sees. It's in the boring routines, the disciplined choices, the quiet sacrifices that look like nothing from the outside, but they are everything. Your life is being shaped by what you choose to do consistently, not what you do once in a while. And when you truly start focusing on yourself, you understand that your habits are either working for you or against you every single day. This is where most people get stuck. They wait for motivation. They wait for inspiration. They want every step of the journey to feel exciting. But let me tell you something. The people who win in life are the ones who master the boring stuff, the ones who build discipline around the basics. It's not about doing extraordinary things once. It's about doing ordinary things consistently. The gym session when you're tired, the 5 a.m. alarm when you want to sleep in, the journal entry when your mind is loud, the book instead of the phone. That's the real grind. These daily decisions compound. They either build you up or tear you down. You think skipping one workout doesn't matter. You think procrastinating one more day is harmless? But it's not just that one moment. It's the pattern you're reinforcing. And over time, those little patterns become your lifestyle. That lifestyle becomes your identity. And your identity is what creates your results. So if you want to shock the world without saying a word, stop announcing and start aligning. Align your habits with your vision. Ask yourself every day, are my actions reflecting the person I say I want to be? Because if they're not, you've got a decision to make. Talk is cheap. Discipline is loud in silence. The person who shows up daily, even when it's uncomfortable, that's the person who's going to win. And here's the truth. No one's going to applaud you for the daily work. No one's clapping for the early mornings, the missed parties, the hours spent alone improving yourself. It's a quiet journey. It's lonely sometimes, but that's where you build power. Because while everyone else is looking for shortcuts, you're building structure. While they're waiting to be discovered, you're developing character. And that kind of consistency is rare, and that's why it's so powerful. When you focus on creating systems instead of chasing highs, you free yourself. You're no longer at the mercy of how you feel. You don't need to be in the mood to take action. You just do it. You stop relying on emotional spikes to get things done. You build rhythm. You build momentum. You build grit. And before you know it, those small habits you committed to are paying off in a big way. You're not just getting results. You're becoming someone different, someone sharper, someone stronger, someone unstoppable. And people start to notice. They won't understand how you changed so much without saying anything, but it's the work they never saw. It's the hundreds of choices they never knew about, the sacrifices, the standards you set, the comfort zones you broke. Without the pressure to explain yourself, you find freedom. Without the need to announce every move, you find peace. You don't need to convince people you're changing. You are changing. You don't need to post about your progress. You are progressing. And that inner knowing, that quiet confidence, is worth more than 1,000 likes, shares, or compliments. People will notice. They always do. They'll start asking what you're doing different because you know how many hours you've put in. You know how many distractions you've said no to. You know the discipline it took to keep going when no one was watching. And that's the most satisfying part. Not the praise, not the attention, but the fact that you did it for you, that you stayed the course when it would have been easier to quit, that you stayed true when no one was cheering you on. This is the power of silence. It gives you space to grow without interference. It gives you strength to keep moving without applause. It gives you clarity to focus on what really matters, becoming the person you were always capable of being. So don't get caught